What is up, everyone? JD here. I hope you're doing well today. We're going to be looking at the ATK Halt. Let's get into it. All right, guys, what we're going to be doing today with the Halt is we're going to do some size comparisons, profile comparison. We'll check the weight on the knife out, and then we'll kind of jump into my thoughts and impressions. Let's kick it off with a couple of size comparisons. Here it is against the Spyderco Para 3 and the Spyderco Shaman. So you can see this is more in that medium range. It is definitely what I would consider like similar to the range that you would find on the Bug Out. It is a little bit longer than the Para 3, but definitely smaller than the Shaman overall. All right, let me grab a couple of other knives. We're going to bring out the Miguron Mojarl, which I think this is pretty comparable to. Very similar length. We'll move the Shaman out of the way, and we'll go ahead and bring in the Civivi Bull Tusk. And you can see just a little bit smaller than the Bull Tusks. So hopefully that helps from a frame of reference for size. What about the profile on this one? Let's check it out against the Mojarl. You can see against the Mojarl, this one's definitely coming in a little bit thinner, and we're going to leave that there for the profiles. And then here it is against the Para 3, which it's just with the contoured scales ever so slightly thicker. So let's take a look really quick. I hate fighting with the pocket clips. Folded profile, you can see very similar to the Para 3 and a little bit more condensed than the Mojarl. Let's grab the scale. I'm very curious to see how this one comes in on weight because it feels very light in hand and in pocket. So on the scale, just over 3 ounces, so very competitive with the Bug Out and the Spyderco Para 3 lightweight models. The pocket clip on here, I'm not going to really touch on that too much. I don't know if the whole pocket clip is changing, but it is on the list of things that'll be changed. And actually, let's cover that in the beginning, just in case I wanted to touch on any of that. So pocket clip will be repositioned to align with the pivot, so it'll probably be moved down and point towards the pivot, I would imagine. So that's what I take that to mean, is it'll be aligned more. The opening hole will be moved over just a touch. I'm thinking probably this way. I'm not really sure how you're going to move it. Just a touch. Further down? It feels like that's the only direction it can go. Not really sure where else it can go. Plunge grind improvement. Yeah, that was one of them. Better angle on the sharpening choil. And pre-orders will, I think, are January 19th, I believe. So I will push this to the front of the line to get everyone aware in case you're interested in this one. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Ergos, 4-finger grip, actually 3.5-finger grip. I hang off the back a little bit there. So the way that they angled this so sharply, it does make it so that for someone with very large hands such as myself, you're going to be hanging off of the back just a little bit. It's still comfortable, nice contouring that helps fill the hand out a little bit. I really honestly, and we'll get to the cut test here in a moment, didn't really feel like I had any issues gripping onto the knife hanging off the back slightly. It's not a dramatic hang off. It's just a little bit left hanging off of the back for me. So just a little bit smaller. My complaints on the Ergos are both these corners are sharp. I know my feedback won't come in time, but I'm hoping that when they move to production after pre-orders, perhaps they can address that. But it's really sharp here, and I did feel that biting during the cut test, but we'll circle back to that. Again, very nice contouring. You got micarta, and you have carbon fiber, fat carbon specifically. That'll be available for that. I love the bolster, and the stonewash on here looks really well done. The pocket clip's a little tight, so I hope when they reposition it, that they can probably address that a little bit. I feel like you got to make it tight when it's this small, though, in order to retain. You have very simple construction. Your pocket clip and screw are holding the overlay on here, and then these two are holding it on. And I imagine you have 1 or 2 bolts back here holding the whole construction together with that pivot. Can't disassemble it. It is a prototype and it is a pass around. Access to the lock bar is actually a little tight for me. I wish it had just a little bit of chamfering here, or that they had left a little bit more material here to get in there. Very easy to kind of pinch like that and close. So no issues with that at all. It's just if you wanted to drop it shut, or if you like to pick up, it's super tight. Like I'm really having to dig to get in there for the closing on that. Thumb flick, it's okay. Maybe when they move the opening hole, that'll address it, but it's very tight access for me. Again, larger hands, you might not have this issue. The reverse flick is really nice on this though. Very easy to reverse flick. The detent, it's nice. Pretty stout. Pretty stout. It actually helps overcome the thumb hole access because the detent is so good. Very controlled close. 2 shakes gets it home for me. Disengage. 1, 2. It kind of met the blade there. Let me try that again. 1, 2. Yeah. Try not to hit it too hard. 1. Oh, you can get it with 1. If you do it like a medium shake, 1 will get it closed. No side-to-side play, no up and down play. You got a very nice stone-washed hollow grind blade here. Very well done. I really like, I think this is Best Tech. Is it Best Tech? Yeah, Best Tech. Best Tech, they do a good job with their stone washing. You got a Warncliffe blade shape, very beautiful blade shape. I like the design of the opening hole. That sharpening choil being added will go a long way, so you can sharpen this one up. And it won't thick. When you hear that phrase smile, just means that you're coming onto the plunge grind and it gets very thick back here. So it's hard to kind of do your angles when you're trying to sharpen these up, or even when you're stropping away some material. That does impact it. You're going to be able to use this very nicely for power cutting, for utility cutting, and you know, bellies are good for cutting through materials because it kind of divides it up. This is good for power cutting on thick materials because this is going to keep that blade level and a little bit easier to control through those power cuts. You got a nice choke up point here for the power cuts, and you got a nice pinch grip here for utility cutting. I really did enjoy the little bit of cutting that I did with this one down in the garage. So let's go ahead and kick it down there and talk about that and come back and wrap up. Okay, we're in the garage. We have the ATK Halt, and we're just going to do a little cut test with it just to see how the steel moves through the material. And also I want to see how does it feel in hand. It's a great size for EDC. I probably already mentioned this. Very much bug out-esque, but let's just check. Very nice edge. This is coming via the pass around group, so I did 5 little straps on either side just to make sure that everything's looking good on it. But let me grab a piece of cardboard, and it looks like we're going this way, guys. So a little bit on screen, a little bit off screen. I apologize. I'll do my best to keep it on screen. This one does have a hollow grind. Hopefully I mentioned that already, just in case. I expect this to perform very well. A nice Warncliffe blade shape, so it should really perform well. Yeah. It just passes through the materials. Very comfortable in hand. Only thing I'm noticing, and again, I don't know if I've covered what the changes are going to be, but it's a little sharp here on the corner of the scale material and a little bit right here on the titanium. So I do feel that kind of biting a little bit while I'm holding the knife in this grip, but it passes really nicely. Very easy. Let's check some draw cuts. Shorten this piece. Yeah, wow, this just bites in, guys. Just bites in the material. Pick it up nowhere, no problems. It picks up in the middle, no problems as well. Oops, that was my fault. I think I hit the choil, maybe, I'm not sure. Yeah, cuts really well. Feels comfortable in hand. My only 2 pieces of feedback are going to be those 2 spots that bite. And you know, this is a very moderate cut test, but nothing chipped the steel. It's going through the material. Oops. I caught where I cut on the choil. Let me see. Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. It's definitely biting fine. So very good performance, about what I expected. It isn't mine, it's a pass around, and it's a prototype. So keep all of that in mind. Let's head back up to the desk. So this one here, even though it is overlay, you do have an internal lock bar access. Very easy to move over. I will not do a spine whack test on this. A, it's a prototype. B, it's a pass around. So I'm not going to be checking that on this one. Maybe if it were my own, I would do that. So you'll have to test that on your own. The action is very smooth, very glassy, and again, very satisfying to deploy. And the sounds are okay on this one. Very cool sounds. Very quickly on the close too. Detent ball hole is on the back to meet up at the top with the lock bar access. So a little bit of a thud. You're looking at a 50% lockup. So good lockup, and you got a nice articulated angle on here. I feel like this would survive a spine whack. It's hard to emulate closing, but you know, it feels secure. Doesn't feel like it wants to break loose in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, it feels very solid, guys. Very solid. Going back to the cutting, the hollow grind passed through the materials very nicely. I don't know what cutting was done before. I did try to just do a very light strop on the blade, just in case others were cutting with it as well, to try to give it a fair shake. This is a factory edge. It is a prototype, so take that all with a grain of salt, but that hollow ground feels very thin, and it goes very high up on the blade, so it went through, passed through the materials just fine. The only hot spots were these two hot spots. I could feel that pocket clip, but it's so chamfered and knocked down that it really did not bother me at all. I believe the pre-order on this one is going to be, I think, my editor, you may have to correct me, I think it's going to be $275. So I think that's a fair asking price for the materials that you see here on the knife, and it is very well made. I'm not going to do any alternative recommendations. I feel kind of funny about doing that without really knowing at the time of the recording the price. I'm trying to go from memory a little bit, and it is a prototype and it is a pre-order. So, you know, the market can change by the time this hits. I don't know if they get enough of a response. I imagine that they'll order over so that people can buy them after, but I'm pretty sure if you get in on the pre-order, you're going to get the best deal. I imagine this is going to be $300 or more if they order extras to sell when they arrive. I like it. It's a cool design. A little small for me. I was kind of disappointed because I really like these types of Wharncliffe style knives, especially when they have a hollow grind that's this well done with this good of action and such a good detent. But when I don't feel like I have the option to move around a ton, when I already have a few knives that are kind of like that, you know, when you even when you look at like a pair of 3, you know, I have a little bit of space back here, so I can kind of change my grip a little bit. You know, I can go into a trigger pull, I can go into a power grip, so I have a little bit of space. Granted, these are applied weapon tech scales, but all that really does is kind of change the bottom part of the knife. So, you know, something small that it gives me that option, I really like. I think they probably could have done a finger choil here, and that really would have changed it. Like, I feel like putting that finger choil here, and you could probably do that on your own, would really make this a game changer for me. I mean, look at all that space that you would have with a finger choil on it. You have a ton of space. That would probably be my biggest ask. But that, again, is accommodating people with larger hands. Medium to large hands, I really don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Let me know what you think about the Halt down in the comments below. Check out the website. I think it's camo carbon. I'm not sure if it's fat carbon or camo carbon, but the ones in the examples that they photographed and put online, they looked really sharp, guys. Really, really sharp. Go check out the knives, the specs, all the details will be up on their website. And again, all those notes that I talked about earlier will be some of the changes they will make to ensure that this is as close to perfection as they can make it by the time it comes out on production. Shout out to everyone out there that likes, comments, uses the links, and is subscribed. Shout out to my members. You're going to get that early access. I appreciate all the support. I love you guys. I hope you have a fantastic week. Until next time, peace.